All right, Mike, man. Like, so what's one of your biggest takeaways you've had in your involvement with Uncaged?
Yeah. So biggest takeaways, a lot of guys get in these groups thinking about, hey, networking. I'm going to network. I'm going to meet a few different people. For me, obviously, that was one of the many goals that I was looking for. But for me, man, it's really more so layering back myself a little bit more than what I expected through a lot of tough conversations that were had. And that involves, marriage, personal life, work life, whole 9 yards. So I think the biggest experience to me was obviously the retreat, the last retreat with the spouses, and you know that opened up a lot of doors for improvement in marriage, improvement in self, improvement as a husband, a father, a man in general. And so for me, that's definitely not something I was expecting. But I think that speaks to the type of people that are within the group and what that allows you to do. Because it takes a certain special group of people to actually peel back the layers of a man, is what I'll say. Not even a lot of therapists can do that. Been to some before, but not a lot of those can even do that. So I just think that speaks to the quality of people in the group, and that by far has been my greatest experience. Is just having that real conversation that's going to lead to more personal growth and development.
I love that, bro. Well, man, like for the people that are listening, why don't you tell them who you are and what you're doing? Like, let's get into it, dude. This is gonna be a good one.
Yeah, so Mike Nooner, I am known as the 3PL Cowboy professionally. So I do industrial real estate. I work as a supply chain consultant. So anything within supply chain work, 3PL, transportation, warehousing, and then including real estate as well. That's what I deal with. Been doing it for going on 16 years now. So been doing it quite a while. Personally, husband, proud Christian, proud American. And I've got two kids, one that is 16 going on 17, and then one that is 2 going on 3. And then I've got an amazing wife that I've been with for going on 8 years now. So, personally, just a family man that loves to work and loves success essentially.
I love it, dude. You were talking about, and it's funny that you said this earlier. Uh, a lot of guys get into Uncaged for like whether it be professional development or like just the networking, whether it's just surrounding yourself by dudes that happen to be like playing at a higher professional level. And it's cool because like to your point, like it always gets brought back to personal first, right? Like fix the man, fix the business, right? And fix the man, fix the family, right? And so, not to say like, well, we got to fix them because everyone's broken, but kind of everyone's broken. We are all
Yeah.
fucked up in our own sort of way. But it's really cool because, like you said, like. And it's audacious, and that's what we look for, right? As high achieving men. So, like, you get in, you want to hit the ground running, you're like, let's go, 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 let's make millions, let's do this, like, scale, let's hire, let's fire. Like, it's all this stuff that you want to learn. And then it's like, shit, I got to talk about myself. Like I got to work on me
Mhm.
first. It's like you bring it all the way back and start from the true foundation, and then is when we can like actually like move forward on a professional level. So like, what's that like journey for you been like? Through your own success, because like obviously like I know, um, you had your own. I mean, let's be honest, like it was investing a lot of time and money into building what you've built now, which is, an extremely successful career for yourself. But like, at what point did you see that like you got to work on Michael Nooner first?
Yeah, so there's always been that thought in the back of your mind, as a competitor, as a businessman, as an athlete. I call it an athlete's mindset. You always want to improve. But as a man, the first thing that you typically look at is not going to be yourself. It's going to be, okay, how can I better this circumstance? How can I better this relationship professionally, personally? How can I better all the things around me? And so for me, like I said before, the retreat was a big moment for myself and Crystal, my wife, as well. For me, having those hard questions asked and then thinking and saying, okay, usually in sales they say, hey, ask the right questions, and then the buyer will come up with it on their own. That's what essentially happened in that moment for me was, hey, you're asking the right questions. I'm explaining this scenario. And then you're putting that in my mind. It's like, okay, if you're smart enough, which most people are, you're going to realize, hey, I actually need to work on myself and this is what I need to work on. So I think for me, the biggest takeaway was coming back and saying, hey, I need to start at ground zero and I need to work on myself. And then that's going to improve my marriage. Okay, then we work on the marriage. And ultimately, that's going to flex up into personal life and relationships and development as a professional in itself. So, just going back to ground zero for me is what it's coming down to.
No, man, I like that. And it takes a big man to be able to admit that because it's not A, it's not easy to admit to yourself. B, it's definitely not fun to admit to your wife. And then it's really not fun to admit it in front of a whole group of people in front of your wife, right?
Yep.
No, that's compliments there. But it's cool too because like you said, like it's when you start looking at like peeling back the layers of the man, like I agree with that, because at the end of the day, we typically like we have a perfect world mindset in our mind. Like in our mind, we're like, for you, like, oh, I'm gonna come to this retreat and here's what I'm gonna leave with it. Or I'm gonna join Uncaged and this is what I'm gonna get. Or I'm gonna do this deal with one of the business partners that you mentioned to me like off air. Like I'm gonna do this deal and this is what like I expect to happen. Like we all have this like audacious, like perfect world scenario. But when you start to peel back those layers, there's something that is required. There is attention to detail. There's levels of commitment. There's accountability. There's action steps. Like there's things that have to happen to make that dream scenario come true. And I've gotten to a point in my life where I don't believe any goal is too audacious. Like there is like a mathematical problem to solve in order to make it happen. Input versus outputs. It's just a lot of us fall short on the inputs. And so for what you had mentioned earlier, when we start to like really kind of conceptualize, okay, I've got this problem that I want to solve, what do I need to do to solve it? The missing ingredient then is, asking yourself, are you willing to do what it takes to solve the problem? And I mean, like I can tell, like, that's obviously come up in your life. You want to talk a little bit about like, what that like means to you when it comes to like doing the work? Cause like I said, man, like I know a little bit more about your story than, most. And like you went through a patch that I think a lot of men would have given up and you pushed through it and now you're reaping the rewards from it. So like, can you kind of talk about like what that journey's been like for you?
Yeah, so for me, Zach, like you mentioned, background. So for me, it started out professionally, and then it went into personal. So for me, had multiple businesses, had owned salons, owned a trucking company, had a beard oil brand. So I dealt with service industry goods. I dealt with actual goods that were sold. I dealt with a number of different things. Had multiple businesses and was still essentially a director of supply chain for a Fortune 500 company at that time. COVID hit. Essentially, was at the inch of bankruptcy. A couple $100,000 in debt. Slid out from underneath it. Got lucky, took on a second job on top of a full-time job in supply chain and just grinded away at the debt. And then built myself back up now. And then the same thing, within marriage, had an amazing marriage, had some issues come up within the marriage, things that we're still currently working through. And for me, um, it's not only creating an action plan and following up, it's going in depth into details. It's changing things that I'm doing on a daily basis. A lot of guys are really good at writing down a list and following that list. But for me, it's getting feedback from others that are around me. I've got mentors personally, I've got mentors professionally. And I say, hey, this is my situation. This is my viewpoint on it. What's your viewpoint on it? What can I do to better this situation? Ultimately it goes back to working on yourself, like you mentioned. So for me, I've done that with marriage. I've done that professionally to get out of the hole that we're in, in our marriage and as well as professionally. And all that comes back to myself. So it's not just writing down actionable items and following up with them. It's actually taking the viewpoint of others that know more than you do, essentially, that have experienced these things that you're going through, and actually taking steps from those professionals, is what I'll call them, and actually taking that advice. Because as a man, a lot of times with that dominant personality, I know everything. I don't need your input. I don't need to take advice from you because I think I'm smarter than you. So it's actually taking a humble approach. And when I say a humble approach, like a truly humble approach, and going at it like a kindergartner and just saying, hey, teach me everything you know. I want to absorb everything. And then actually going through with it at the end of the day. So I think a lot of people are, like I said, good at writing stuff down. They listen to advice, but do they receive the advice? Are they actually doing what they're supposed to be doing to get better? So for me, it's breaking it down to my faith. How do I get my faith at a level to where it's supposed to be the man that God has in store for me, essentially? Um, how am I following His word? And then how am I becoming a better father, a better husband? How am I going to become a better professional? So for me, it's just taking a step back and looking at myself, taking those actionable items, taking that advice, and just taking it step by step every single day and saying, hey, I'm going to look at my day previously. How can I get better, 1% better every single day, essentially?
Oh yeah, dude, I love that. Yeah, and it's cool because like that's been a big piece of my journey a lot lately is just paying attention to others that have done it, right? A lot of times we do try to do everything on our own, and we're a few generations removed from it, like, but we have access to information now that like no one else in history ever had access to. And part of that is, I'll don't hold me to this. I think the number is 7 people. We're 7 people removed from anyone on earth, right? And so like when you really start to think about that, and to your point, like seeking out guidance of coaches personally and professionally is one of the things that I've really taken uh, my attention to lately is finding someone that's been successful in an area that either I want to be more successful in or I just have zero success at all, and trying to buy back that time. Like you said, like they've already been through it. Now, what they've been through and what's worked for them may not 100% work for me, but it's definitely going to put me a lot closer down the journey of solving that problem, because like there's definitely some creative thought processes behind the guys that have fallen down, got back up, and just won't give up. So I think that's huge when it comes to, like I said, and in fact on the roundtable call just earlier I had made a comment about that is, I see some of these dudes that have acquired real success, whatever success looks like to you, whether that's you're considering it personal or professional. But anyways, and my thing is like, dude, it's my goal to hit that a decade sooner than they did. To your point, like you're a competitor. Part of that's like the competitive spirit, but part of that too is like eliminating excuses, and not even just eliminating excuses, but putting my focal power on like the benefits that I do have, right? Like they've done it already. It's proven that it can be done. Like that's the 4 minute mile for me. But if they can do it and they did it with the resources they had access to, I should be able to do it significantly quicker because we have so many more assets at our disposal. And so like I want to commend you on that, but like through that journey of like seeking advice from coaches and mentors and stuff like that, what are some like underlying like lessons that you're learning from these guys that like someone else that's listening right now might be able to take it and apply it to their life?
Yeah. And like you said, you don't have to recreate the wheel, is what I say. We've got AI now. We live in a world of convenience and speed, essentially. And so for me, it's just taking advice from everybody. That doesn't mean it's always the best advice or the right advice, but take everybody's advice, digest it, think about it, put together a plan. Um, So the one piece of advice that I would give is honesty. A lot of people are not brutally honest when it comes to their situation, or they're not brutally honest when they're looking at themselves or when they're looking at what they can do to improve. As a competitor, I'm pretty hard on myself. I'm probably harder on myself than anybody else that I know. I'm hard on myself when I shouldn't be sometimes. And so for me, it was thinking that, okay, I'm here, but in reality, I'm actually probably right here. And so I think the turning point for me and the advice that I would give to others is realizing where you actually are at and then realizing where your potential is. I've always known that I have high potential. I've known that just from believing in myself, essentially. But actually hearing from others and saying, hey, you should actually work on this, and this, and actually that brutal honesty and transparency, not only with myself and looking at it, but transparency from others. I think that brutal honesty and transparency is what's been the difference maker for me. So anybody that's looking to improve themselves, anybody that's looking to actually, level up, I would say surround yourself with people that are going to be truly brutally honest with you. A lot of people that are paid to come and talk to you, they're not going to probably keep it raw and real with you. They're probably going to sugarcoat it because they want them to like you. They want you to hire you again and bring you back for another session or another coaching talk. And so it's really the people that actually care about you and then closer to you. Those are the ones that are probably going to be more honest with you and give you a little bit better feedback and transparency than people that you can actually hire for it.
No, that's awesome. And it's funny too, because like it's wild that like, we hire these coaches and have these mentors and stuff like that. And some of like the most monumental advice is just like it's either it sounds cliche, it's not like anything crazily like earth-shattering, but it's just being able to receive that information at the right time and like apply it, which is, that's what creates the impact that, moves past just a conversation. But it's funny too because I'm big on that, right? And like, dude, it's not fun or easy at first, right? Sometimes I'll get in some real serious conversations with guys, and like it's hard for me to like communicate the fact that like it's fucking hard for me to say this shit sometimes. But like I'm so convicted about it because like I know that like I don't want anyone around me that's just going to be like a yes man. Like so like I'm trying to give people the respect that I want from them, which is like tell me honestly what like because at the end of the day, going back to what I was saying earlier about like at this perfect scenario, at the end of the day, the perfect scenario is to improve. And the only way to improve is to truly know what needs to be fixed, what problem needs to be solved. And so when you start to surround yourself with people, like you said, and I've seen it fucking time and time again, they want to, they want, oh, let's give them a compliment sandwich so like we can make them say something nice and then we can tell them something, critical. And then we say something nice again. Like, no, motherfucker, tell me what the fuck I need to fix because that's what I'm here for, and I think that's huge. And I think, stepping into the ability to be given true, transparent, honest, raw feedback, like that's the pivotal moment as a man where you like that's where the journey fucking begins, bro. Like
Mhm.
what's that like look like for you?
Yeah. So for me, and I'll just touch on something you said at the last retreat real quick that you just touched on too, is you got to be in the right headspace to receive it. When you said that at the last retreat, I literally wrote that on one whole fucking page and then circled it and then scribbled all around it like a kid in kindergarten that was really excited. Because for me, that was like, man, I thought back of even my business partner that I work with to this day, and he sat there and told me the same thing 20 times. And I just thought back and then it clicked. I'm like, I wasn't in the right headspace to receive it. How can I get in the right headspace to receive it? Um, so, for me, it's like you said before, it's just about essentially surrounding yourself with the right people. For me, I've worked in, I want to say, the corporate world. I worked in it for 14 years. Worked for some of the largest companies. Worked for DHL, Nike, Amazon, Kellogg, APL, Ryder, a lot of the bigger players in the industry. And you were surrounded by yes men, and that's all you were. And for me, I always had a difficult time with that because clearly I'm not a yes man. I'm going to keep it raw. I'm going to keep it real with you. And if you know I love you and it's out of love, then you're going to receive it the right way. If not, then you're going to think I'm an asshole. And so that's just how it's always been with me. And so for me, the pivotal moment, like I'll go back to that retreat again, because that had a really big impact on me, was actually hearing that raw feedback. And at first, I was very defensive. And in my mind, I was just like, okay, no, I put my man shield up. No, this is not right. This is not right. And then actually hearing my wife talk and say, no, this is how I feel as well. And then it was like, okay, this person that I love and I trust and I built a life with is telling me the same thing that multiple other people are telling me now. Okay, it's probably real. It's kind of like that saying, you hear something from one person, probably going to disregard it. Hear it from two, okay, I'm going to think about it. Hear it from three, okay, it probably has a good probability of being true. Hear it from four, okay, it's probably true. You need to accept it. And so for me, that's kind of the mentality I had. And so hearing it from my wife and saying, hey, these are things that I see that you need to develop on as a man to become a better man and a husband. For me, that was probably the real point for me. I think it just took, like I said before, the right people to set that scenario up to achieve that, is what I would say.
I love it, man. And it's funny because it's hard to read the label from inside the bottle, right? It's like sometimes, we get so stuck in our ways, or like even sometimes too, like, man, we think we're fucking doing it right, but we're not. And like, so, it hurts our pride to find out that we're lesser than, or like we're not doing it, up to par or standard or whatever. Like it does. It sucks to hear sometimes, but that's what's fun about being around people that like just genuinely want to see you succeed. Because again, like it's not fucking easy given some of that feedback sometimes. And it gets easier every time, right? Like the more you stand on being an authentic person, uh, because it's not fucking cool in today's world, right? But the more you stand on it, the more the easier it is to do it the next time, and the next time, and the next time, and the next time. And but what's fun about that, and even something kind of a discussion we were having on the roundtable call earlier today, is when you are that person, you start attracting more of that to you, right? And so that's what's fun about it, is it creates this ripple effect. I mean, that's why in Uncaged, like we say, like the better we all are individually, the better we will be collectively, and the better we all are collectively, the better we will be individually, is because like, we do believe in the law of averages, not necessarily because like, I don't know, it's a fucking scientifical proven fact, but like we're a living experiment of it. Because like, dude, like not only do like, yeah, I want to be there for my fucking wife and my daughter, like I want my family to be proud of me, which is, my main focus. But also being around guys that like I equally like I look up to, that will go out of their way to give me the advice and opinions and roadmap that I need, but then to like also make them proud and like show them that like I am willing to do the work, has been like super motivating. And it's definitely inspiring to be in a community of guys that, just because, like I said, it's not easy. So like they're going out of their way to do something relatively painful to them for my best interest, and knowing that they don't really want anything in return other than that same respect. So like they expect me, whether they want to hear it at the time or not, they expect me to tell them exactly how the fuck I feel. And so it's cool too, because that now brings up an environment in an ecosystem that makes it again easier for me to be that person for them. Um, so I can definitely see where you would have gotten that from, and how that like experience like helped mold you into understanding like that this is important and this is different than corporate America. Because I was in corporate America too, and I can definitely say that I experienced the same fucking thing, bro. But like now what? Like what's up with Nooner now, bro? Like what are we doing? What are we moving forward to? Like you've gotten access to a new group of friends, a new group of guys that are going to expect more out of you. Is that intimidating? Is that scary? Is that motivating? Like, where's your head now on like where, you've done the work to get you to where you are, right? And like, what's gotten us here won't get us there. So like, and I'm not saying I don't want Uncaged to take all the credit because you are a hard worker. You are doing other things outside of Uncaged, but dude, there's a whole new life ahead of us now. Like, where's your head at for like what the future holds?
Yeah, so for me, I would say in I'll call it a previous life, in old Mike's life, a lot of risks were taken, and there was a lot of hurt from those risks only because there were no reward behind it. A lot of it was uncontrollable stuff, but a lot of some of it was controllable, is what I'll say. And so for me now, it's looking back and looking at those experiences and say, okay, what did you do in the past? I did X, Y, and Z. Okay, obviously it didn't work, so I'm not going to recreate the definition of insanity and essentially say, hey, I'm going to keep on doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I need to do something different. So for me, it's like, okay, I have to take a look at who I'm surrounding myself with. Are people that are in my life, do they have the same goals as me? Do they have the same mindset as me? Do they have the same intentions as me? And the answer was no. And so, making a lot of hard decisions to cut people off that I've known for 15, 20 years, even some of them family members to this day, and just saying, hey, I'm going to have a transparent conversation with you. I just don't think you align with what I'm trying to achieve in the future. And that starts with surrounding myself with the right people. So I'd say for me right now, obviously, I'm working on myself. I'm working on my marriage. I'm working on myself as a man. But for me right now, I'm trying to build a foundation to be able to very soon in the near future be able to take risks again. Because obviously, you're not going to achieve a level of success without taking some pretty massive risks. And so for me, it's creating and building a foundation with my wife, my family, business partners, relationships, and setting myself up for success to be able to take those massive risks. I'm going to say within the next 6 to 12 months and be able to achieve the success that I know that is within God's plan for me in my life. So just building the base right now, that's where my mindset's at. And then when the risks come, the rewards will come after that.
I love it, bro. I love it. That's definitely important, dude. I mean, so as we go through this, I love the conversation about risk versus rewards because, like, I mean, dude, to your point, some of the guys that I'm talking to now, the way they talk about things, it's terrifying, right? Like that's obviously the mindset that I'm in now, and a lot of conversations lately. I don't know if this is like a sign or what, but like a lot of conversations lately, both in business and then like I'm talking like in like my men's group, like my men's Bible study at church, is like the difference between um like being fearful, right? Is like what is fear? Fear is seeing something and obviously like being scared of it, right? But then there's the next step where it's like bravery, right? Bravery doesn't necessarily mean that you're not still scared or, there is fear there, but it's doing what you have to do in spite of that, right? And, I think that's been, a huge piece of like my growth journey, both personally and professionally, is like being brave when it's necessary because, you know, I look at a lot of lessons that I've learned the hard way, and it's when we like allow the fear to creep in and overtake uh the being brave that the that I fuck up, that I fail, right? That's when it becomes an issue. But when I look back on times where like I was brave and I did push through and I didn't fucking stop, that's where like all the success was on the back end of that, right? And so it's kind of like that, analogy of like the dude that's like, digging for gold or diamonds or treasure, whatever the meme is, and he stops and he turns around, but he was like right fucking there. Versus the guy that just keeps going. Is it's man, like you shoot enough shots and eventually it's gonna go in, right? Yeah, I've used the analogy before. Like I could, you're a competitor. Like I could beat Michael Jordan at a basketball game if he genuinely never took a shot, right? Like at some point statistically, if he never shot, and granted, we're both playing good offense, we're both playing good defense, like eventually one of mine's gonna go in. It's statistic, but if he never shoots, he never wins, right? And I think that a lot of us have to figure that out in our own way, whatever that fucking looks like. I know for me, it's been I've to your point, I've taken lots of risks and I've gotten burned, bro. I've gotten burned, but I had to learn that that doesn't mean that we give up. Like there might be right or wrong ways of doing it. There might have been learning lessons that we apply to our life, but that doesn't mean that we just fucking bow out of the game and throw in the towel. It's time to work smarter and harder. Any like final words on anything like that before we get off here?
Yeah, I mean, you said it without saying it. You got to get uncomfortable to get comfortable. For me to get comfortable in my own skin, I have to get uncomfortable first. Um, I wouldn't say it's fear. I would say it's a lot of worrying, which you can kind of say is fear, I guess, in an odd way. Um, but for me, it's getting just extremely uncomfortable. It was having a tough conversation with my wife when we first met, and just says, "Hey, like I'm a guy that I'm eventually going to take risks because I want to achieve X, Y, and Z. I'm the type of guy that." In some circumstances, I'm going to put all my cards on the table and I'm going to throw my nuts in the pile too and everything that I've got, and I'm going to go for it. And so you've got to be uncomfortable to get comfortable. So if your goals and what you're trying to achieve and how you get there do not make you a little bit of uncomfortable a little bit at least, you're probably not shooting hard enough or as often as you should be. And so for me, it's like I said before, just building that base to be able to take that risk to insulate myself slightly because I do have kids and a family now. Back then I was single. I lived in an apartment with a cat by myself. So, didn't have a lot of risk. Me and the cat maybe sleeping in the truck for a week or two, but now I've got a little bit more to worry about. But for me, like I said before, it's trusting in God's plan, having that faith-based foundation for me. For me, I don't worry as much anymore because I've been in situations where I've scraped change to go put gas in my car. I've been in a situation before where I've asked my family for money, like, "Hey, can I go get $20 so I can go get a pack of ramen from Walmart and eat for 2 weeks?" Like I've been in situations like that before. So I think now that I have a stronger faith, I don't really get worried much anymore. Like you said, whatever happens, happens. After you shoot your shot so many times and you kind of get let down, you kind of get that mentality of like, hey, when it hits, it hits. I'm gonna do all I can. I'm gonna do everything to the best of my ability. And when it hits, it hits. Whatever God's plan is for me, it's gonna unfold itself eventually. I have to do what I can do and worry about what I can do. And so for me, I think a lot of the worrying, a lot of the fear has gone away this time around for me because of what I've been able to do with my faith and personally and build myself back up the right way.
No, man, I love that, and it's funny the way you said it, right? Like, you got to get uncomfortable before you can get comfortable. I like that. I'll explain that in a second. And then, like, one of the ones that I've said pretty often is you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. There's that aspect of it too, right? And when you really start to like think about it and all these like analogies and all these things that kind of intertwine, and like you said, like you got to hear it at the right time. And it took me a long time to understand that. But they joke, we are talking about risks, and they joke about like, if your goals don't scare you, like they're not big enough, right? And so for me, uh, typically would say like you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. But I also like the fact, the way you put it, because like it does give hope towards the other end. And in fact, on the way back from our anniversary trip in Key West, Heather and I were having the same conversation. which was like the way you said it, we're deciding to get uncomfortable for a little bit so that we can be comfortable later on, right? Like there's refinement that has to happen in order to become better. And so sometimes we have to pull ourselves back a little bit and realign ourselves with what truly matters and then move forward with that new information. So that's really badass, man. This has been a great conversation. You've obviously given us your most valuable asset, your time here today. What is something we can do to pay you back for the time that you've dedicated to us?
I wouldn't say you owe me anything because for me, this is a part of the journey. Speaking to you, surrounding myself with the right people, for me, honestly, that's reward enough, man. So I look forward to continuing the journey with you guys. Obviously, I look forward to the next retreat in a couple weeks here. And so for me, I probably get a higher ROI than you guys are getting from listening to me right now. So that's all I'll say.
I love it, man. Well, that means a lot, brother. Other than that, guys, if y'all heard anything here, if you want any connections with Nooner, reach out to myself, any of the VIP guys. He's in VIP. We'd be more than happy to connect you. Other than that, we appreciate y'all and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Appreciate it.